in the Latin American scene, Kelazor and Special have been so dominant that they pretty much eclipse everyone else. But the next tier of players would be would be Cham really, more or less on his own usually. But we don't even have Cham in this top 4 because in the top right-hand side is the man who eliminated him. He is JimRising.
And down here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from the Cranky Ducklings. He is Erik.
Yeah, and after Cham, it would be this.
Wait, is that a 14? Was that a 14 hatch? Wait, Paulo, is he doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is it a 15 hatch?
That was a it's no. I think it was a 14. I think it was. Well, I saw him do this yesterday. I think he does a gas trick, then hatchery, then gas trick, or maybe just hatchery, then gas trick. But yeah, either way, it's a weird one. It's an earlier hatch than normal.
I was getting so excited because I thought he was doing. Actually, yeah. And now that I think about it, it wouldn't make sense. There is a absolutely like I'm trying to think of a stream appropriate way of putting it, but there is an absolute brick-headed move that True came up with, which is so brilliant, of how you basically take a suit, you like literally 12 pool your opponent, but then you don't drone, but then you just kind of take a super fast hatchery without droning at all. So it's like a 12 pool, 11 hatch. For some reason, I was mixing it up in my head and I was thinking, oh my God, he's taking a 14 hatch. The idea with that build is that it makes it look like you hatched first when the overlords come in and see the creep. But you've actually 12 pooled and then you just come across the map with a bunch of Zerglings.
Yeah, is it a 12 pool? Because the 12 pool is self-revealing, but there is moves like that with link speed, that will kick in with link speed, right? Or was it slow links?
I think it was with slow links, but this is a long time ago and it was with True. So
I see. With True?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It was like True pulled it out in like a grand finals or something of a Cheesadelphia. And Tempo and I were just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, there's definitely some tricks that you can pull off here. I mean, the good thing about the hatchery that Erik got earlier here by avoiding to get that overlord is that if there was any early pulls, there would be, and if there was, links across the map, then his hatchery would finish earlier, and finishing earlier on the hatchery is huge, not just for the larva, because you also get 1 extra armor when the hatchery is finished as opposed to when it's building.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we are going to see a pretty normal-ish looking game so far, though. All things aside, even from slightly different opening there from Erik. And Erik is going to be adding on both Zergling speed as well as a Rotorn at the front, but they're both just really focusing on those drones. And I was kind of saying this to Sue earlier on during the break, but the way I categorize JimRising, and I feel like he was oftentimes played, is he is a man of kind of extremes in his playstyle. He can play macro games and he can play cheese games. Like he actually does both, which is why it's hard to just say like, oh, he's like a cheeser or oh, he's like this kind of player. But whatever he does, I feel like he often takes risks. So if he's going to cheese you, he's not going to do like a middle of the road cheese. He will do like the full all-in cheese. He's not going to just play macro. He'll cut corners and try and take leads with his macro. So interested to see what kind of decisions JimRising makes.
Yeah, interesting also is the fact that I don't know that JimRising will be ready for this. I mean, Erik is dropping a Evolution Chamber behind this, but this seems like a very committed attack. Jim is going to identify this and drop a couple of Spine Crawlers, and I'm kind of just staring down at the production tab. It's only links for now, but now there's a lair from Erik, and I was wondering what he was going to do with that gas, whether he was going to go for Ravagers or something else. So it looks like it's going to be a semi-committed attack into something like a Spire. It's a very, very... weird meme here that we have from Erik, but it could work out.
How much damage do you think he has to get? Because he's clearly going to be able to cancel +1 weapons over here at a minimum.
I think that's already decent. I mean, already a lot of workers in production, or a lot of units in production from JimRising. Worker count is already equalized. And as far as Erik is concerned, I mean, JimRising is not really getting to use his tech advantage, right? Like JimRising had a much earlier lair, but he can't really use it. So I like this from Erik, the fact that he's just backing away and not really overcommitting to it. Yeah, this works out. I think this is good.
Okay, well, nicely done by Erik then. It seems like he's able to get some of that nice damage in. I do actually like that in this situation, JimRising have that creep spread a little bit further forward. Also kind of revealed a little bit earlier, like, hey, there aren't actually reinforcements coming in as you're attacking into me. So maybe also signaling to him a little bit, as well as with the overlords and everything, that there weren't going to be additional units he had to worry about, and then he could start going into drones after this, which is why he's been able to catch up a bit. But we got more roaches finally being made over here for Erik. So it seems like he's not adding on like a spire or anything. He's just cranking out more roaches.
To me, that's a little bit surprising, to be honest. And he also added an extra spine crawler, which really puts him at a deficit because he's adding more defense on his 2 base, but he is playing against 3 base effectively, and he should know that. So I like that he cancels the spine now, as he feels like he has to move out on the map and takes his 3rd. I would have liked to see that 3rd go down on par with JimRising, who has now pulled ahead by 5 workers.
Yeah, the 3rd base being so much later for Erik is definitely going to hurt, but I was going to say, like, maybe he can do something with the army supply, but honestly, they have even-ish army supplies at this point. Even the upgrades are going to actually be tied up in a moment with +1 weapons, and I think also roach speed finishing up for both these players at this point. So yeah, so I guess it's going to be on this little bit of overlord drop harassment with the roaches for Erik to try and pull things back. And it's not that Erik is super far behind, but it is a notable difference in where they are at.
Yeah, I like it. He shows the roaches on or close to the 3rd of JimRising to that overlord, which makes JimRising actually move out with his roaches, but that means that there's not going to be enough in the main. However, there is a spine crawler already in the main of JimRising, which is extremely uncharacteristic of this matchup. But I mean, it also goes to show that these players know each other and that Erik does like to use these drops. Still, he's going to find himself a queen and potentially a few drones here at the natural as JimRising is pushing across the map and will collapse onto the army of Erik, who does not seem to have enough out here. I'm surprised that he doesn't pull back to allow for his reinforcements to kick in. It's a very, very close fight. I'm not actually sure who's winning it.
Yeah, Carapace upgrade finishes in the middle of the fight, giving a little bit of extra durability to JimRising's roaches. He's doing a bit of micro with some of the weakened roaches every so often, but more of these roach drops happening behind the natural expansion mineral line. JimRising not seeming to notice just yet as he is starting to pull back his own roaches, but still losing more and more drones right now.
Yeah, but Erik not paying attention down that ramp is actually going to run into a concave of JimRising, who is very well situated under it. And with that, JimRising finally taking some decent trades on the other side of the map. He's going to continue to push on forward, but on his natural, he hasn't been able to deal with Erik's counter offense. Erik does not really need to be fighting these roaches, but I mean, he has defender's advantage, and if he clears this off, it's likely that he just ends the game.
Yeah, he is fighting with a Carapace upgrade deficit, though, so I wouldn't have minded, like you said, if he just pulled back, got some reinforcements, but +2 missile attack is going to be finishing up soon for Erik on top of that worker lead advantage. The Roach is still active now in the main base. I feel like these Roach drops have literally been able to put Erik into a position where he might actually be able to win the game off of it, but still has to be able to defend over here, and he is starting to get a bit overwhelmed. +2 Carapace or weapons now kicking in.
Finally kicking in. He could have bought himself much time to make that happen a little bit safer. Now he's pulling drones pretty far away from his mineral line. I would have loved to see those roaches tucked in much earlier. Erik still with an advantage because of those roach drops doing as much as they did. But this defense didn't need to be so complicated. Yes, he could have ended the game earlier, but he is risking losing the game to some degree, right? If one of these fights goes terribly. That said, finally, Erik with the amount of reinforcements that it looks like he's going to be able to stabilize and maybe with this take game number 1.
Yeah, GG. We do see Erik take the first game, like you were saying, off of, literally, I think we said it like 3 times now, but off of the back of that Overlord drop. The Overlord drops really paying off, which is funny because you were even pointing out how the spine crawler that was burrowed at the natural originally, like those 2 spine crawlers are made, 1 spine crawler died off in the attack. The other spine crawler got burrowed in the main base. JimRising was actually preparing for some form of harassment or drop or a run by or something to happen in the main base. And even with him having that on like the top of his mind of like, this could be a thing, those Overlord drops still just did so much damage.
Yeah, and maybe that ended up working against JimRising in a certain sense because he felt safer with that spine. And Erik identifying, you know, like if you have a spine there, you probably don't have one at your natural, or maybe you have one at your natural, but that would be kind of insane, right? To invest 300 resources into static defense in a CVC is just a very difficult decision to make. So I like what we saw from Erik. It was very decisive. He was very quick to ignore the main base spine and move on to the natural, and that decision put him in a great position.
All right. Well, well done by Erik. I think that there were still a few things that we were talking about that didn't go quite Erik's way later on, which he was able to make up for thanks to that overload drop and everything. But JimRising definitely showing he's got some fighting power behind himself as well. Oxide is going to be our next map as we move into game number 2. And this is yet again another best of 5 since we are in that good old playoff bracket. So still some room to maneuver around.
Yes, indeed. And now we are loading onto Oxide. It's been a relatively long day and without many breaks for us, Ravi, but I am feeling this series. It is a CVC. It is a good one. These players are very closely matched. Erik is getting the better of Jim so far. We'll see if Jim can retaliate here.
Okay, well, we're going to be starting it off over here in the top right-hand side of the map. Yet again, on top of that blue Zerg player, he is JimRising.
And in the bottom left-hand side for Cranky Ducklings, it is Erik with a K. Very pug.
You know what Erik's full name is? Or like even his birth name?
I would guess it's Erik.
You would think it was Erik, wouldn't you?
It's not?
No, it is.
Okay.
But I was like sad that you already guessed it. So I tried to get you with the double.
It wasn't a very difficult guess. His name, according to Wikipedia, is Erik Braga Bermelo.
I like that. Yeah. That's a solid last name. You know what I'm always interested in is how those wonderful Wikipedia editors sometimes find out about like obscure details, like people's middle names and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they are very sneaky, the Wikipedia people.
Sneaky makes it sound more devious. It's like sneaking around. They're like peeking looks at your driver's license at events or something.
Yeah, they probably just message players or something. I don't know. I don't know what they do. No clue.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And maybe just from an oh, you have a middle name?
Yeah, exactly. No one knows.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Can you say the first letter?
I could, but I won't.
Say it just this one time. The first letter.
No. This is
just one letter. One letter.
I like the mystery of it. All right, it can be whatever you want it to be.
Listen, give us
let me
letter.
Put it this way.
Give us one letter per year.
1 letter per year.
Yeah.
No. It'd become too obvious.
Okay, how about not the starting letter, but any?
Paulo, we already have a lot of lings already out.
That is it's true. It is a huge all-in. All right, but but you gotta tell us your middle name if Jim holds.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna take that one, but we do have already JimRising scouting a few of the lings over on the far left-hand side. I guess it's not too weird. It's not like super out of the way or anything, but. May have been interested to see, like, okay, you're avoiding some of the overlords right there.
Yeah, I would almost let this link die if I were Erik, just so that it doesn't reveal the speed. Because once he reveals the speed, JimRising is gonna start looking for a potential attack to follow, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore as the links have to reveal themselves to the overlord with the speed, so it will work out. Jim trying to block off, but there isn't enough creep to actually wall off completely on this ramp. The queen will have to do what it can, drops a creep tumor immediately to try and help, but hey, there's a little bit of a gap, and Erik will get in. This might be a quick one, and Ravi will not reveal his middle name, but you were just about to, weren't you?
You know, I in fact did take that bet mentally, and no one can prove otherwise. But now that I won the bet, I do not have to reveal it at all. So
that is true.
I mean, really nicely done there by Erik, I guess. That's just one of those womp 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 moments. So not a whole lot we can do about it.
Really just abusing the wall off and lack of information. I mean, it's difficult to collect information in CVC. At that spot in the game. So yeah, well done from Erik. That is the kind of thing that is just you know, kind of a quick one. It's more of a CVC than anything else type thing at this point.
It is the equivalent of a basketball player like running up for like a layup or something, but their shoelace was untied and they trip. It's like, okay, I guess the other team just has the ball now. Like, yeah, I guess that's just how it goes. Really unfortunate though, because unlike basketball, it's not just a 2-point score, possession for the other team. It's actually just your opponent has won another one of the 3 games that they have to win this series. So this is going to be a bit brutal, guys. We're going to give both these players a bit of time, and maybe JimRising a bit of time to think about how he wants to play it out in game number 3. So go to a short little break. We'll see you guys in just a bit.
Welcome back to Dreamhack Masters Summer Latin America, where we might have a potential last game of this series if Erik can close it out, or a comeback started to being mount by JimRising. So we'll see what happens here. I am Katz, joined by Fear Dragon. What's up, Robbie? How are you doing?
The pause every time you say it now always gets me, because like in my head it's like an actor centering themselves for that one. Was like, okay, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
That's basically what it is, yeah. I hear Scooby-Doo in my head and then I do it.
Yeah. I'm doing well, and you know what? I'm excited to see how this series is gonna go, because this young lad down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map is currently sitting up 2-0, representing the Cranky Ducklings. He is Erik.
And in the top right-hand side, with a couple of huge upsets, but not able to pull it through so far in this particular series, it is for Team Macaco, JimRising.
Dope. We already have a spawning pool on the way for Erik and a gas geyser.
Nate described the portrait of JimRising as a monkey smoking something. I mean, it's obviously the Tychus reference, right? So that's very clearly a cigar, I think.
A monkey smoking what?
He just said something, like, you know, like he was smoking some weird stuff.
Yeah, I think it's the marine helmet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just a Tychus gorilla.
Or maybe it's just, you know, we're not advocating for that kind of stuff. So maybe it's just a cinnamon stick. I'm sure it's just a cinnamon stick.
Ah, it very well could be. But I mean, if Tychus smokes,
spicy today.
That is very true. Very, very true. Wait, cinnamon is? I mean, you're Indian, Ravi. I suppose technically it's a spice. It's just not something that I think of as spicy.
Hey, you can look. Anything that is a spice is spicy, right? Like
it is,
salt,
yeah, technically.
It's a spice. Salt is the spice of life.
Yeah, but usually you mean like spicy. You mean hot, not temperature-wise. But you know the feels.
I feel like sometimes we over-exaggerate the emphasis or overemphasize that spice means hot. It could mean anything.
True that. Let's see what these links can mean. As Erik has crossed the map, he is lagging by 3 workers and investing in these early circlings. Maybe looking for something like a queen pickoff or something like that, but not gonna pay off just yet. Good block there by JimRising, but actually Erik getting a little bit of a surround will actually kill a couple of circlings. Good job by JimRising not to overproduce links to defend. But as I say that, as JimRising is getting praised for not starting those links, that is kind of what Erik is also counting on as he starts 14 links of his own as speed is about to kick in. So this is kind of like the point of this early but not so early pools. You make a few links, maybe you apply some pressure, maybe you pick off a queen, but more importantly, you keep your opponent on his side of the map and you keep your opponent guessing. And now here we have it. It's Erik yet again going for it. Will JimRising be able to wall off this time in time? There's already those links out on the map that are gonna focus on the part of the wall off that has the most surface area, which also happens to be the Roach Warren. Unfortunately, not great planning there on that front from JimRising. Yet again, the Roach Warren will be focused down, and maybe we are seeing a quick series, though there isn't really much reinforcements on the side of Erik. So these links will get inside. The Queens will struggle to get back to defend. A few drones guaranteed to follow, but maybe not much more than that.
Yeah, unfortunate that was also a kill, not a cancel on one of those buildings there. So Erik getting a little bit more damage on that. But now the block. Oh, that is very well done over there by JimRising. Not even using 2 queens, using a queen and a few lings to get that block off. But still focus fires down a few more drones at the end.
Yeah, this wasn't a very committed attack from Erik. That's the beautiful thing about this, is it exploited a small timing that he had, but behind us he was droning up. But now he has set up for a next wave of an attack that relies on having a few more drones. This is a very layered approach from Erik. You love to see it, really. So now he has roaches, and now we're gonna go for a roach wave, reinforcing with links, as JimRising potentially would have been looking to catch up on drones. He did actually catch up on drones, so that's problematic for him.
Okay, well, we got a lot of those Zerglings following things up behind all the roaches just because they can make their way across the map so quickly. Like you were saying, oh my god, no, JimRising. The Roach Warren just finishes up. He fires up 2 roaches to use that +1 missile attack upgrade. But now the Roach Warren, this is what I was fearing, is just going to get focus fire down again. So he's going to get out a few roaches, and then he's just going to lose his Roach Warren again.
Yeah, and look at that. Erik not really wasting any time either. He is going right away for that Evo chamber as well. Maybe with the roaches, he can help to secure that. And let's see if he continues to push on forward. I mean, as we speak, Erik, this is very unconventional, Cirque. With him, you always have to look at the production tab as this is unfolding, because he's actually taking into a lair. He's actually getting Overlord speed, potentially for drops like we saw in the previous game. He is getting his own +1 attack, so he is not all in. And JimRising, though, answering yet again very, very well, not overcommitting, not overreading into this situation. he is not firing up too many units. He is instead trying to catch back up on drones himself.
Really, really well done. Snipes off 2 more queens over there as well. Erik is finally going to have to back off over here, but these roaches are still the only roaches that JimRising will have for a little bit, as finally the roach warren finishes up, but JimRising is trying to transition out. He's trying to get up his own lair, get up his gas geysers and whatnot. Really just a chaotic kind of cool opening there from Erik. I really like you were saying, you love to see it, the multi-tiered strategy coming out over there.
Yeah, really keep your opponent guessing, and that is something that you can very well do in CVC more than in any other matchup, just because there aren't anchor units for Zerg as easily as there are for Terran and Protoss, right? For Terran and Protoss, sometimes the first defense is good enough because you needed a battery, for example, for your defense, right? So the second defense, you already have a battery, right? With Terran, there's the likes of tanks or medevacs, and just the natural Terran defender's advantage, which makes it a little bit easier and easier, as well as bunkers and that kind of situation. For Zerg, yeah, there's spine crawlers, but they don't tend to fare as well as those other defensive structures. Like, you can't really repair the spine crawler. It's not as effective as a shield battery. It can be bypassed a lot of the time, as we're gonna see with these drops, for instance. So I like that you can always apply pressure. You can always show to your opponent, hey, make units, and your opponent has to most often answer with units of their own.
Yeah, sort of just chuckling, seeing that there's already that spine crawler in the main base yet again over here for JimRising. It wasn't enough to save him last game, but it did at least save him a little bit of headache. Now that the queen's also out over here, you can actually do a bit more damage to those drop overlords, so not going to be able to kill it or anything, but softens it up. Though this is a 1-2 attack over here. Erik coming in from the left-hand side is going to be able to find a handful of these roaches, some decent trades for both sides, but I think that eventually with the reinforcements, JimRising should be able to push this back.
Yeah, but the 8 roaches are unaccounted for, and Erik knows it, so he's going to drop back into the main and look for good trades there. Now he's going to have to pull back and leave again. Pulls into the weakened overlord, a little bit of a mistake, and 3 roaches were actually dropped on the low ground. Also a little bit of a mistake that could have been a little bit more decisive from Erik, but I mean, we know Erik at this point. We know the kind of strategy that he is up to. He is distracting JimRising over and over again, and behind it he has the next punch available, next punch ready. I really love this layered approach from Erik, who now has mutas out on the map.
Yeah, the mutas, I don't even know if they've actually picked off any overlords or anything. Just, I don't see any overlords dead yet, so this might actually be the first real reveal of these mutas, as suddenly we have Spore Crawler starting on up, but there's only 1 queen at this base and he gets picked off. The Spore Crawler is not finished. The drones are all starting to go down. Actually, target firing down the spine crawler is an interesting decision. I thought, just kill the Spore and then just go after the rest of everything else, but finding a few of his units caught in the center, he's just going to go and help out those units, try and pick off some of these roaches, and make sure that JimRising doesn't have the opportunity to just go for a big counterattack.
Yeah, a little bit of a blunder, however, for Erik, moving out with those roaches, completely unnecessary. Maybe one just for spotting if he was lacking overlords or something like that, and you can always pull back the muta and start killing these roaches without losing your own roaches in turn. Erik remaking roaches at this point in time, but he could have killed a lot more drones at the base of JimRising. He had such a strong opening there to do a lot of damage, and I love that he bypassed overlords on his way to the third, because he recognized that JimRising might not have accounted for muta, and it's so difficult because he's been punching him all game.
The high-risk, high-reward play. He's literally right-clicking down the hatchery with like 7-8 mutas.
He's gonna get it.
He's gonna get it because there just weren't any queens left over, but my God, that was one of those moves that you're like, yeah, but if they just start a bunch of Spore Crawlers, or they just actually had some more queens all queued up and they popped out, rallied over, you kind of just walk away with nothing but a bit of damage done.
Yes, indeed. But let's not forget, I mean, Erik has been focus firing those queens throughout the game, so this is also part of his plan, right? Like, and maybe he doesn't go for muta if he didn't kill them as many queens as he did. And JimRising has to cut corners somewhere as well to catch up, because all of these punches from Erik have been successful, right? Similar to what Special was doing to Kelazur in that semi-final game, right? In that game, the game before the last one of their series, where he just kept punching and he kept getting advantages here and there. It's been very similar. It's been all Erik, and it's been very methodical. I love it.
My God, the number of overlords killed, as we were seeing in that battle report, is not too shabby. 10 overlords You can see that JimRising is not exactly doing super well in supply. Speaking of overlords, Erik gonna make use of his own, loading up 4 overlords to the drop this time. And since those mutas have the ability to clear out his opponent's overlords, JimRising just doesn't get any notice about this kind of stuff. He doesn't see the overlords coming or anything. The only thing he can really utilize is the creep spread in his main. That might be a little bit too late to notice.
Yes, indeed, as there is more perhaps than he can handle either way. I mean, this is an attack on 2 sides with the mutas, potentially helping out the roaches in the main as well. So yeah, this is looking all Erik. I think we're going to have a quick 3-0 here on the side of the Brazilian, looking dominant. Well played, says JimRising, and Erik advances to face his countryman.